So I just want to let you know we are going to record this session, so no worries. Feel free to ask questions as you want to. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So thank you for attending the training. We're going to go over the enterprise web. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what the front end of the system looks like. So when a visitor comes to our website, this is what they'll see. So I'll go through some of the functionality, and then we'll go into the back end and I'll show you how to actually create the content that we're seeing. So like Sharon said, my name is Colleen Terry, and I'll be your trainer for today. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So when you first get started, we made this so that there's a consistent view across all garrisons. So the navigation is similar across all of the garrisons. And we did this, excuse me. Well, that's not good for our recording now, is it? Sorry, I just have to take a drink of water. Okay. So we created this consistent view so that when our service members are moving from duty station to duty station, they and their family members will have will know how to find content on MWR sites because there'll be consistency across all the garrisons. So the first thing is you'll notice on the top bar here is obviously we have our branding, and then you'll see your garrison name. So this is customizable by your garrison. Just below that, we have some primary navigation, so a link to our facilities and programs, and we'll go look at that in a moment. Then we have our calendar of events, and again, we'll look at that as well. And then a way to contact us, so if you have any questions, you can reach us. And then just below that is another set of navigation, and these are what we call categories. And you'll be hearing the term category several times throughout this training because we use these categories in a couple different areas. So these categories were actually something that came out of a request from a local garrison that said, hey, it'd be great if we could have some categories where we could showcase events that are happening in those categories. So, we're really good about taking feedback and implementing it. So this is an example of that. So these category names cannot be customized. But they can be hidden, so if you don't have anything in outdoor recreation, then we can hide that category. There's also more categories listed here in the drop-down. And again, we've been adding categories as necessary and as has been recommended by those of you who are using the website. So that's our primary navigation. Also, we can search throughout our website. And just below that, you'll see an advertisement. So we have several different advertising areas. So here there is the banner ad, and over to the right we have another advertising spot. We're not going to go over how to set up your advertisements in this particular training. We have a separate training for that, and it's actually quite simple. We really just use a user guide because it's pretty easy to do. So we'll make sure that you get that information. So just below that featured advertisement is what we call the featured event. And this is, prime real estate right on the home page. And you can see there's a nice image to represent what this event is all about. You'll see the date for the event, a title for the event, and then some quick details about the event, the time and the location. If you were to click on any one of the titles of these events, it'll take you to a page with more details about that particular event. Okay. And I don't know if you noticed, but I do want to point out that the advertisement changed as we moved to a different page. So you can have multiple ads running. Okay, so underneath that featured event, we can have up to 18 additional events. And I use the word events, but they can also be promos. And a promo is an example of that would be this right here, the CYS Sports Officials. And a promo is something that you want to make people aware of. So it's not necessarily an event. It doesn't have a date, time, and a location associated with it. It's just something you want to get out there to your community members and advertise. I also want to point out this particular event, how it spans across several days. And I'll also show you how to do that, how to set that up in the back end. But same holds true for all of these events. If you just have some key information, and then you can link out to the more details of that particular event. Okay. So I also want to just point out the images. These are some really good images. We really want to not have much content, and ideally no content on the images. So it should be an image that represents your particular event. You can upload new images, or you can use images that are already there, and I'll show you how to do that as well. But these are some really good samples because it's pretty clear that this is a bowling event. And pretty clear that this is, a music and associated event. So having nice, clean images is really what makes the website function well. Okay, so we'll continue to scroll down, like I said, up to 18 additional events. You can order these in any way you want. So here's a good example here, how we have May 21st, 23rd, and then we have a July event, and then another May event. So by default, these events are displayed in chronological order, but you have the capability to move them around. So if you'd rather have a particular event show higher in the list, then you can certainly do that. So let's continue scrolling. And now we get into our footer area. And here we have some of our partner logos. And these partner logos will change by region. So right now we're looking at a garrison in the Europe region, and so one of the partners is the Edelweiss Resort, and so that's why that's there. So these will change by the region. The next area here we have sort of quick links to some common areas, so contact us, web track, employment information, and then if people want to advertise. And then just below that we have our footer area where we have regional information. So again, this section here this is all predetermined for you, so you don't have to set anything up in this particular section. And right now it says Europe, and so obviously that's because we're in the Europe region, but you would see that as Pacific for those of you in the Pacific region. And then this section here, this My Community, this is completely customizable by you. And so we'll set up what we call a stack, which is sort of a block of content that you store, and you can decide what you want to include in here. So if you want to be able to have access to certain pages on every single page, then you would want to put that here. And then below in the partners section, again, this is something that's determined by your region, and you don't have to worry about doing anything here. And then lastly, we have our social media icons, and depending on which channels you're using, we can set this up for you. You just have to provide us with the URL, and then we'll set up the social media channels. And these link directly out to those particular sites. And so if you don't have YouTube, that's fine. We just won't have that logo available there. There'll be no link if you're not using Pinterest, whatnot. So whatever channels you are using, we can take advantage of. Okay, so that's a quick look at the home page. I'm going to scroll to the top. And now I'm going to go into our navigation areas and look at facilities and programs. So here, again, this is another area where we see categories. And so in the bolded content here are the category names, and they will match the categories that are up on this navigation bar as well. These are organized alphabetically, and then within each of those categories, you have facilities or programs that are associated with that category. So we tried to make it easy for visitors to find what they're looking for by categorizing things. So if they know that they want CYS, they can scroll right down to CYS and see all the different pages that are available in CYS. Now, we do have some facilities that might span over a couple different categories, and that's completely fine. We can take advantage of that. So for an example, in Stuttgart, they have a golf course, and so they have their golf course appearing under the recreation category, but they also have the golf course appearing underneath their sports and fitness category. So it's fine to choose multiple different categories to showcase your facilities. And if you don't have a facility in a particular category, then the category name won't show up. So it won't show up as, with nothing underneath it. It just won't be available. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's go into the Galaxy Bowling and Entertainment Center. And I just want to show you how a standard facility page is set up. And so again, we made this so that it's consistent across all garrisons, and I'll show you in the back end how this actually works. But at the top, we always have our contact information and our hours of operation. And this particular facility has multiple facilities within it, and so there's a different set of hours of operation for each one of those. Automatically, any events that are happening that are associated with that facility will appear, and you don't have to do anything. Once you associate it with the facility, then automatically it'll display here if you wanted to. So you don't have to set this up separately at all. And then we sort of have just sort of an overview, nice little video there about this center. And then underneath that, we have what we call accordions. And these are really, really nice because they allow you to organize a lot of content and make it look very simple and easy to access. So for instance, if you knew that you wanted to just find out about the party room, you can go directly there, get some information about the party room and some pricing, and then you have access to that. So each one of these, it expands and collapses. That's why we call it an accordion. So you can click on it, you'll see content right below it, and then click on it again, and it'll collapse that content. These accordions are particularly handy on a mobile device. What we're finding is more and more visitors are accessing our website via mobile devices. So this is a really great way to organize your content and make it really easy to get access via mobile device. Okay, and then you'll see some featured events for this particular facility, or if we chose to advertise these events on this facility, and I'll show you how to do that in the back end as well. Okay. Alrighty, so let's go back. And now let's take a look at our calendar. So I'm going to click on calendar, and we have lots of different views, or a couple of different views for the calendar. So right now, we know that we're in the calendar because it's orange up here, and we know we're in the month view because it's orange here, so we know what our filtering is, our formatting is. And so the calendar view by month is just, a calendar filled in with all the different events that are happening. As you can see here, they're color-coded, and they are color-coded based on their category. So if you wanted to quickly look, oh, okay, I can see that, ACS content is in yellow, looks like sports and fitness is in purple. So if you want to get more information about any one of these events, you would just click on it, and it gives you that little pop-up that gives you some teaser copy. And then again, if you wanted to get more details, just click on the More button, and it'll take you to that full page with more content about that particular event. Okay. All right, so let's go back to our calendar view. And now I can also filter this. And so you're not seeing anything prior to today's date because they've already expired, so we take those off the calendar. And that all happens automatically. You don't have to do anything about that. But if we want to filter this view and say we only want to see things that are happening in the library, we can click on Library. And what it's going to do is just going to filter that view. And now we will only see the events associated with that filter. And we can see what we're filtering by here. And then, at a quick glance, we can see the events that are happening. Okay. And then we can change our filtering and put everything back. Now another view, I'm sorry, you can also, go forward in the calendar if you want to see what's happening in the next month. But you can also look at this view in a different way, and that's by seeing a listing of all the events that are happening. When you choose List View, it'll show up in chronological order. Same thing holds true here. Little teaser copy, click on the title to get more information about that particular event that's happening. Okay, so that's a quick look at the events. So now I'm going to take you into the back end and show you how to actually create your facilities and how to create your events. So to do that, each of you should have received an email with your login information. If not, you can contact us and we will get that to you. With that login information will also be a URL that you can go to get access to logging in. What I'm going to do is just show you at the footer of every page, there's also a login button. So, and this will be on every page that, any garrison that is live already. You'll have this link here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click login. And it's going to take me to the login page, but in that login page I can also change my password. So when we set up your account for you, we set up a generic password. And so we really encourage you to change that password right away, and for you to make sure that it's compliant with Army standards. So we can see right here it's taking a little bit to get to that page. Oftentimes what I do is I just hit the back button and then I go back again and it loads that much faster. So I'm going to go back down and I'm going to click on login, and then you can see it loads that much faster. So if that ever happens to you, just click the back button and start over again. Okay, so here we are at the sign-in page, and this forgot your password section. This is, whether or not you forgot it or you want to reset it. So again, when you first sign in, you want to do this first. So you would put your email address in, and then you would click on the link, reset an email password. What that's going to do is it's going to generate an email to you so that you can click on the link and reset your password. Now that email is going to come from mwreurope@gmail.com. And so because it's coming from a Gmail address, it might end up in your trash or in your junk folder. So if you don't get it right away, just look at one of those folders to find that, that email. And then, like I said, you'll have a link there. You click on the link and you'll change your password. So once you've done that, come back to the sign-in page, put your username in, and put your new password in, and then click Sign In. And when you first sign in, you're going to be taken to the dashboard. Now the dashboard is where you have access to all of the features that you're going to need as far as getting to the location for setting up your programs and for setting up your events, setting up your footers, uploading files. Now my dashboard looks a little bit different from what yours will look like. I'm an administrator, so I have access to additional features that you don't necessarily need. But a few areas I want to point out that you will have and you will be accessing are the sitemap. And the sitemap is a hierarchical view of all the pages in the website. And we'll go in that in a moment. And that is where you're going to go to set up your facilities and your programs. And by the way, I use the terms facility and program interchangeably. Okay, so when you set it up, it's either a facility or it's a particular program. So it's the same way that you set it up. The next area here is files, and the file manager is where all of the images and documents are stored that are associated with the website. So we saw a lot of our events had some really nice graphics. They're stored in the file manager. If for some reason you had to link out to, say, a PDF or something, then that PDF would be uploaded and saved via the file manager. You can access the file manager in a few different ways. One is obviously through the dashboard. The other way is when you're setting up your facility, and the other is when you're setting up an event, and I'll show you how to access that. The next area I want to point out, the Pro Events section. This is where you're going to go to set up the events associated with your garrison. To add a new event, just click on the Add Edits, and that'll take you to a form. We'll go through that in a few moments. To see a listing of all your events, then you click on the List View. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to the top, and I want to point out some navigation at the top here. So first is our dashboard, which we're looking at right now. But as a quick take, you can just sort of hover over that word, and it just pops up a little window that shows the most common locations that you go to. And then we have our support. So if you click on support, this provides you with a way to contact us. And you should be aware of this already, but if not, we do prefer that you submit any kind of inquiries or help or feature requests via this. So support@mwr.zendesk.com. And the reason why we want you to do this is because this is monitored by several people throughout the day in different time zones. So it's likely that somebody would be available to help you out much more quickly if you submit it through here. We respond to most things within 24 hours. In case I think, I said most things, I think it's actually all things. And we may not have an answer, but we'll definitely follow up with you within 24 hours. So we do urge you to take advantage of this. And then we have some contact information here for some of us on the web team. So you can contact us directly if you want. But we're all monitoring this website as well. So we'd like for you to be able to focus on that. Okay. And the last navigation up here that I want to talk about are the user guides. The user guides are great. And this is, we're going to go through a lot of information today, and you might feel a little overwhelmed, or you might not remember everything I'm saying. And if that's the case, you can always come to these user guides and learn how to do something. So for example, how to create a facility or a program. Just click on that link, and that provides you with some documentation and a video. So almost everything has a video so that you can watch it in action, or if you prefer, you can read it and view the screenshot associated. So we give you both options there. We've had some folks who have never contacted us after training. They just use the user guides and they were able to figure everything out. Not to say that we don't want to hear from you, but just to assure you that these user guides are pretty comprehensive. Okay, another one that I want to point out is our Common Mistakes Guide. And this was created because before, when we do a content review, we were finding that many people were making the same mistakes over and over again. So while we provide SOPs and guidance as to how you should set things up, not everybody was reading that, so what we're finding was people were making sort of the same mistakes. So we decided, let's put together this Common Mistakes Guide, and we really urge you to take a look at this before you even get started, because then you'll avoid some of these issues. Okay, a lot of this is around formatting, around image sizes, and setting up tables. Okay. So I really urge you to read over this Common Mistakes Guide before you even get started. So I'm going to take a minute to just describe our approval process. So you're listening to the training right now, then you're going to get started on your website. When you feel that you're close to having a few facility pages and a few events set up, we ask you to submit for a review. And submit through the Zendesk email address, because before you get too far down the road, we want to take a look at, make sure you're doing everything right, and we'll point out areas if need be. And then you'll continue to build out the rest of your website. Once you're done and you feel like you're ready to launch, you'll contact us again through that same mechanism, through Zendesk, and request a final content review. And our review team will take a look at it. If there are any issues that need to be addressed, we will let you know via email. We'll give you a list. And then once everything's addressed, we'll turn your website on live. We ask for a 2-week turnaround time to do that. Now, we've almost never taken 2 weeks to do that. It depends on how, some garrisons are very large and have lots of pages, so it takes, a fair amount of time. But we are pretty efficient at doing this. So we do ask that you consider, if you have a particular launch date in mind, that you work backwards from there as far as when you're requesting your content review. Because, inevitably there's going to be some, a little bit of back and forth, and so you want to be able to build that time in. Okay. So again, user guides, please feel free to take advantage of these. There's actually couple pages worth of guides, so do take some time to poke around in the user guides. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard, and now we're going to set up a facility page. So we're going to go into the full sitemap. Again, this is a hierarchical view of all the pages in your website. It is organized by region. Okay. When you see a plus symbol, that means that you can expand that. So again, it's a hierarchy, so not uncommon, other things that you've seen. So as you press the plus sign, you will see additional pages appear. So for instance, I'm going to go ahead here in Stuttgart. I'm just going to kind of stick with that for now. And I can see here that I've got a program folder, I've got an events folder, I have 199 events, I've got 46 programs. If I wanted to add a new facility, then it'll be under programs. So again, it's hierarchical. So we'll click the plus symbol, and we'll see here a list of all the programs and facilities that we have available. Now, if I want to add a new one, I'm going to start at the program level. Now, take a look closely at my cursor. So right now it's an arrow. As I hover over the word programs, it changes to this finger pointer. That means that there's a menu behind there. There's a link there. So I'm going to click on that, and I get this menu. And I'm going to go to the close to the bottom here and click on Add Page. And then it provides me with a page layout or a page type. Now, there's a lot of different layouts here, but I have to emphasize you should only ever choose program. Okay, because we're adding a page, you want to choose program. It's tempting to sort of see what the other ones are all about, but you should only ever choose program because this is formatted in the right way. It means that everything is going to work in the proper way for you to be able to set up your facility page. So we'll go ahead and we'll click on programs, and then we can see a little form that pops up where we can name our program. So I want to start, I want to add a Java Cafe, and I can choose a date. So for some reason, if I have some time and I want to prepare ahead of time and I want to put some content in, but I don't want to publish it, I want to make sure that I put a date into the future. I put a short description. And this should just be, a one-liner, a couple sentences, so that you provide a description of what this facility is all about. This information in here helps when we're searching, so you do want to be descriptive. And then we'll click on Add Page. All right, so now it takes us back to the sitemap, and whenever we add a new facility page, it'll appear at the bottom of the list of all the programs. And so we'll go ahead and we'll find our Java Cafe that we just added, and we need to add content to this. So again, if we hover over, we get our finger pointer. We'll click on that and we get a menu. And now we're going to go visit that particular page. So we'll click on visit, and you may have noticed there were other menu items there. We can access those menu items when we're visiting this page. It does keep track of what you're doing, your status here. But we can see we've got our header, and we've got our footer, and we've got our page name, but we have no content in between. So now we're going to go ahead and add that content. So if you go to the top left, you can see we have a button that says Edit. Hover over that, and you get this window. These items here are those same menu items that we saw in the sitemap. So if you want to edit this page, just click Edit this page. And it'll take you into edit mode, and you know you're in edit mode because the link up here is changed to green and it says editing. Okay, and we also know because we have these lines, these perforated lines around some of the content areas. And so the content on a facility page is organized into two locations where you want to customize. And the first one is Add to Main, and the second is Add to Info. So Add to Main is that primary contact information that's at the top of each facility page. So that's where you want to put your hours of operation, your contact. And then Add to Info is all the additional content that you have. So when I showed you the example of the bowling center where all those accordions were, that's where that information will go. And then there's the featured events section, and this is something you don't have to do. It's something that will happen automatically as you're building out your events. So you've already noticed that when I hover over, my arrow changes to the finger pointer and the area darkens, which means there's a link behind there. So I'll go ahead and I'll click on that, and again I get a menu. All of our content is organized into blocks of information. So I'm going to start by adding a block. And there's lots of different blocks types here. As you can see, there are many, most of which you will not use, but do know that we have a lot available. So when you're setting up content, you want to look at the descriptions and figure out which ones. So we're in the main section. We want to add our hours of operation. So we'll click on Hours of Operation Contact, and it provides us with a form. One of the things that you'll notice is a lot of when you're setting up your facilities and setting up your events, it's forms driven. And that is so that we guide you through what information that you should be inputting so it appears on your page. And so it's all pretty self-explanatory, so just sort of go through what each of the fields are. To put your hours of operation in, you can just use the drop-down arrows and just choose your hours here. You can also tab across if you find that to be easier. But you want to go ahead and you'd want to fill out your hours for each day of the week. If you're closed on a particular day, you just don't put anything in the hours, and the word closed will appear next to that particular day of the week. So let's suppose on Wednesday, actually let me show you the tab first. Okay, so now I'm just going to tab across, and it's going to put in my content. So let's say we want to show 2 different hours in one day. So for example, maybe we close for inventory. So on Thursday, we're going to close at 10 a.m. and then we're going to reopen. So to add another set of hours, I'm going to click on Add Range, and now it gives me another set of hours for Thursday. So now I'm going to reopen at 11 a.m. and then I'll close again at my normal hour in the evening at 7 p.m. Okay, this is really handy if for some reason maybe you close for inventory or you only have one person that works at that facility and they take their lunch break. It's a great way to represent that. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this blank so you can see what that's going to look like on the front end. You know, say on Saturdays maybe we open up a little bit later. So we're going to specify that. And then maybe we close a little bit earlier. Oops, 5:05. And then on Sunday, say we're closed. Now you might have custom days, and custom days are, okay, they're not a day that fits in any one a normal day of the week. So for an example, if you're closed on U.S. holidays, you might want to specify that because then it's known right up front that you're closed. And again, if we leave it blank, it'll just, the word closed will appear next to it. Maybe you have different hours on training holidays. Okay. So you just want to specify training holidays, and again, maybe you open up a little bit later in the morning on a training holiday, and maybe you close earlier. Okay. Some of you may have host nation holidays on different hours, so you can add that custom day as well. Then we continue down the form, and we see our contact information. And so, again, we guide you through what it is we're looking for. On the right-hand side here, it gives you examples. So I'm going to cheat a little here just to save myself some typing time and just put in the content. Just copy and paste this. But if you have questions about what should go here, just look to the right here, and it'll guide you through that. We do have, whoops. Okay. We also have in the area of telephone, if you click on the question mark, it gives you examples of what they should look like by region. It's really important to follow these formats because the reason why it has to be formatted properly is because, as I said earlier, a lot of people are visiting our website via mobile device. And so if the phone numbers are set up properly, they can actually dial right from the mobile device. They can just click on the phone number and it dials automatically. But if it isn't formatted the right way, then they're not going to be able to do that. So we've given you the guidance as to what the phone number should look like. And then for the DSN, a lot of people are not even aware of the fact that there is a specific prefix for the DSN based on region, because maybe in your region you don't have to dial it, and so you don't even think about it. So we've given you some guidance here as well. And then you want to put your contact information, and then if you're using ICE, you want to put that in. Then we have a couple of nice options here. If it has Wi-Fi, that's great. If it's handicap accessible, and we'll show those little icons on the page. So let's go ahead and let's add this content, and we can see here what it now looks like. It automatically formats it for us. So I'm going to hover over, and again, because I'm in edit mode, it's giving me a link to go back. But you can see here on Thursday we added the extra hours. That's how that is represented. We have on our U.S. holidays and training holidays our special custom days that we set up. And then our contact information here, we can link right out to Google Maps. We said yes to Wi-Fi and yes to handicap accessible. These actually were, again, requests that came in from folks like you. I said, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could just put that up there so we don't have to type it in every time. So these were great little additions here. Okay, so if you need to make any changes to this, again, you just hover over, click, and you'll get your menu, and just click on Edit, and it brings you right back to that form. And you can make any adjustments you need to make here. All right, so now let's add some content in. So again, I said that everything at the top should be the hours of operation of the contact information. So we're going to go into the Add to Info section. And again, everything is organized into blocks. So we're going to add a block. And I'm going to start off with just a content block. What I like to do, and we think this is best practices, is to start off by just having like a one-line description or welcome. Great spot for drinks, baked goods, and free Wi-Fi. Okay. And so that's going to appear as the first thing that you'll see underneath your hours of operation. And we'll go preview what this all looks like in a moment. So let's go add some more content. So I'm going to go to Add to Info. Again, I'm going to add a block. And now I'm going to show you how to set up accordions. And so we have Start Accordion, Content, and End Accordion. These are all in a row for a reason. So you always want to start your accordion first, because that's going to be the title. So let's say Spring Specials. And that's going to be, remember, in that blue bar that we saw when we were looking at the front end. That's what's going to appear there. And there we see it. And then right underneath that, we're going to add to info again. We're going to add a block. And always after you start recording, you always immediately put a content block underneath it, because that's when you click on the title bar and it expands, it goes right to this content block. So you have to do it in this sequence. Okay, so this content area is a little text editor, and this is fairly familiar looking probably. If you're not sure what each of these icons is, just sort of hover over and it'll give you a description about what it is. Okay. So maybe we say, come join us for Spring Specials. Okay. Now I can do some formatting. So for instance, I can, highlight this word and I can bold it. If I wanted to link to somewhere else, I could. So for instance, if I wanted to link out to a page outside of my website, I would highlight the word, and then I would use this chain link icon. And then I would paste in the URL that I want it to go to. If I wanted to link inside a page within the website, then I would use this blue bar up here. Okay, insert link to page. That will take me to my sitemap. And you'll just specify the page within your sitemap that you want to link to. So in this case, we're going to just link to another cafe. Okay. I can also add images here. So if I wanted to add an image, it'll take me to my file manager. Now I had shown you in the dashboard your file manager, and this is another way that you can access the file manager. So we have a lot of images in here already, so I encourage you to take a look at images that are already existing. That might work great for your website before you add any new ones. And so we can go ahead and we can search on a keyword, and it'll provide us with all the images that are associated with that particular keyword. If you can't quite see what the image looks like, you can click on it and then say View, and then this will give you a view of what that looks like. That looks kind of yummy right there, doesn't it? Okay. If you want to choose that particular image, then you go ahead and say Choose. Okay. All right, so there's our image. And now the next thing I want to do is I want to show you how to set up a table. So let's say Spring Specials. Setting up tables, this is in one of our user guides. And tables have to be set up in the right way so that they are properly visible on a mobile device. And so this is the icon here to insert a table, so I'm going to click on that. And I can specify the number of columns and the number of rows. And if you're not quite sure, it's fine. Just choose a number, and you can always add. Okay. So I have this little shell here. So here's where the formatting importance comes in, is when you're setting up a table, that top row there should always be the header row. So for instance, you'd want to specify item and then price. And then underneath that, you can put the details. So if you want to sort of have a lead into the table, so here it says spring specials, is my heading, you want to have that outside the table. And then inside the table, you should only have sort of the column headings and your information. So maybe a latte is $2.50, and then maybe a caramel latte is $3. That was the image that we saw there. And so formatting again is important. If you look at the way I did the pricing, if it's $3 and it's no change, you just want to put the $3. You don't put the 0.00. Obviously 50 cents, we'll put that in. But that's how you want to set up your tables. And so the reason why this always needs to be the top row is because on a mobile device, oftentimes this table will flip from a top to bottom to a left to right. And it's the only way that those headings are going to be properly formatted is if they're always at the top like that. And that's also why you don't want to have like a special title within there as well. So you always want these to be your column headings. Just like you would do a spreadsheet, you would put column headings in there. All right, so let's go ahead and add this content and see what it looks like so far. So we're still in edit mode. And we can see our title bar here. We can see that we added in our content. We've got a nice image, and then we have our table. Now we're in edit mode, so it doesn't look perfect right now, but when we go publish this, we'll be able to preview and see how it looks. Again, if you need to make any changes, just click, get that edit menu, and then you're right back in your text editor. But let's go ahead and start and set up another accordion. So we're going to add a block, and we're going to start with start accordion. Now you may have noticed the end accordion is right below. You don't have to end it after each time. You can keep starting and adding your content, and at the very end just do end accordion. Okay, so let's go ahead and start this accordion. So let's say we have special military specials, and there's our heading. Again, add to info. We'll add a block. And we're going to add content right underneath that heading. Same text editor that we saw before. So great military specials. Thanks for your service. Okay, and then let's add a table in here. So we can again specify our number of rows and columns. We can always add in. This is going to be item. And tables are really good for like price lists. They're also good for organizing a lot of content, but always remembering that you should have your header, your column headings there. So let's say maybe there's, we have a scone that's available for $1.50, and maybe we have a cappuccino available for, say, $2.50. Okay. So we'll go ahead and add that in. Okay, so again, we're still in edit mode. So let's go ahead and let's save this so we can see what it's going to look like. So I'll go back up to editing, and I'll say submit to workflow. And what this does is it submits it for approval. So if you're a content contributor, then you can add all your content in, and then your approver would go in and look for all the pages that are waiting for approval. Okay, so these, if you want to close them down, again, it just gives you an update on what's been done so far, but you can just close these out. So here's what it looks like. Here's a preview. And so we've got our hours of operation. We can see what how our table looks really nice and clean here, our contact information. We saw our header information, or sort of our welcome content. And then we see our two accordions. If we click on the spring specials, we can see our image. This was a link. If we click there, it'll tell us it's going to go to the Broadway Cafe. And then here's our nice looking table, nicely formatted. And then if we click on the military specials, again, we get our nicely formatted content. And you can expand or collapse these as you as you need to. So that's a quick look at how to set up a facility page or a program. Okay. Now we're going to go in and I'm going to show you how to set up an event. So we're going to go back to our dashboard. And we're going to look for that Pro Events section. So as I mentioned, if you want to add a new event, logically you would choose Add. So we'll click on that. And then that's going to take us to a form. Okay. Now this form has 4 tabs. Right? So you want to make sure that you go through each one of these tabs and you complete it, the content that's in here, before you actually add your event. Because if you try to do it too soon, it'll give you an error. So the first thing is you want to select your community. So in this case, we'll stick with Stuttgart, and we'll choose our event title. All right, so we're going to set up a story time. Here's another look at categories, right? We saw them on the navigation. We saw it in the facilities, and then now we're seeing it on the events. And so this is a library event. And page type, we mentioned, or I mentioned earlier when we were looking at the front end, is there's 2 types. There's event and a promo. Again, the only difference is an event has a specific date, time, and location associated with it. If you want to hide dates for your events, you can choose that. You can hide times. So there's a lot of different options here, very self-explanatory. So just go through that. Event video, these are really nice. We saw that, I think, in one of the samples that we saw, but you can have videos instead of a static image. And so if you have a video about an event, that's a great thing to add in here. People really like to watch videos. So if that's the case, you want to put the URL into the video here. And it gives you instructions as to exactly how to copy that address. And then you want to click on Yes to replace the image with the video. Okay. All right. The next thing is you want to associate this with a particular facility. So this is really helpful because once you choose a facility, it'll pre-fill in some of the content for you. So again, that takes you to your sitemap, and you want to choose the facility that this event is associated with. So this is associated with our patch library. I can choose to put this event on this facility as well, which I will do. And the reason why this is here and it's not automatic is because we did have some requests that say, sometimes the events are held at a facility, but we don't necessarily want to advertise the event on that particular facility. So that's there as an option. And then you have up to 5 additional pages that you can advertise this event on. So again, you select page, and it brings you to your sitemap. And you can choose other facility pages that you want this to go on. So let's put it on the other library in the Garrison, and like I said, up to 5 additional pages. And next we come to our home page section. And so on the home page, you want to choose your home page. So we'll click on that. Please be careful that you don't choose the one just above or just below. That's happened accidentally from time to time, and we'll get a phone call saying, hey, how come Shannon's event is on our website? So just be careful of that. You may be wondering, well, why do you give us access to all of these home pages? Well, the reason why is because a lot of people do like to do cross-marketing, and so we want to give you that option. If you do choose to work with another Garrison, just make sure you check their marketing department first, and that they agree to have your advertisement on their page. Okay, then we get to thumbnail image. And so here is where you put the image associated with this particular event. So again, this is another way we can access the file manager. We can put in another keyword, search, and then we'll get some of those sample images. Again, if you're not sure, you can click on it in view to see what the image looks like. And then you can choose the image if that's an appropriate one. If you wanted to add your own either image or document, you would click on Choose File. It would take you to your file structure, any other application that you're using where you're uploading a file. You choose that file, and then you'll have a form, and it'll ask you just to verify the file name and add some keywords in there. We really, really encourage you to have the file name be something very descriptive as to what it is, and also to put keywords in for the very reason that we just took advantage of, which is we put a keyword in here, we saw all the images that have the word book, so we can use them. So it's just a nice way to filter and be able to get that information. And then you just click on upload file. Okay, so let's choose this particular image here. Again, some more optional information. Here we can see that because we chose the facility, it automatically pre-filled in the content here, which is nice and helpful. Event tags. This is, again, really important when it comes to the search engine optimization. So if you want to be able to type in keywords, that's great. So somebody that comes to the website and wants to search for a particular event, they can do that. So books, maybe we put in kids, maybe we put in stories, story time. Okay, so a whole series of keywords. And then you have areas to put in your cost or your registration. And this is, again, the same text editor that we saw before. Web track information if you want to, handicapped accessible, so lots of options. Now it's very tempting to click on add event, but don't forget we have 3 additional tabs we need to fill out first. So let's go ahead and specify our date. So we click on the date tab, and now we can add in additional dates. So when I click on the add date, it automatically defaults to today's date. If you want to change that, just put your cursor inside the date, and it gives you the calendar view. And we can say, okay, we have an event that's going to start on the 23rd, and our story time is going to go from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Now, if I had an all-day event, I can say yes to that. I can group my dates together. We saw that on the front end, and I'll show you that in a moment, how we'll do that. You can specify a status. If you have an event that doesn't have an end time, like say you have a race and you know when it starts, but you're not exactly sure when it's going to end, you can ignore the end time. And then you can set up a recurrence. And so in the case of Storytime, this is an event we're going to host on a weekly basis. So we're going to choose weekly. Whenever you choose a recurrence, you have to choose an end date. And the end date can be pretty far out in the future, but you want to specify it, otherwise you'll get an error. And the reason why we do have an end date is we want to make sure that from time to time you're looking at your content and you're refreshing it and you're making sure that it's still accurate. And if we would allow you to put it up there forever, it might get forgotten about. Okay. All right. So we have that set up. Now I'm going to go to exclude dates. And so here, this is really handy in the case of, if you have a recurring event, and say you have some holidays coming up or there's certain days you're not going to offer it, you want to have some exclusions so they don't appear on the calendar. So I'm going to click on Add Date. Again, it defaults to today's date. I put my cursor right inside that field and I get my calendar. So we do have a holiday coming up, so the 30th is Memorial Day weekend, so we're not going to have the event on that day. We also have another Monday holiday, 4th of July. And we do have a third Monday holiday this summer, and that is Labor Day. So we want to make sure that we specify each of those days as exclusions. And then finally we come to the post, and this is where you put your event content. So when we saw on the front end, we saw a little teaser copy. That's what this event description is. So this should really be just one line. Great stories for kids ages 3 to 4 years. Okay. And then in the event content, this is where all the detail goes. And so I'm not going to type clean content. I'm just going to put a bunch of content in. Again, same formatting tools that we've seen all along. So you can bold it, you can link, you can add tables, you can do anything you want here. So lots of flexibility here. So we've completed each of those 4 tabs. Now we can click on Add Event. So it is working. It's turning up here, we see. It sometimes takes a few seconds to add that content in. And once it does, it'll take us to a list view. So I'm seeing a whole bunch of events here because, again, I'm an administrator, so I'm going to see a lot more than you're going to see. But what we do see is the last event that we added. You can see the title of our event. You can see the date, the time. It's a recurring event, its category, and the fact that it's not approved yet. If we want to preview what this looks like, you just click on the link to this particular event. And we can see in our image, we can see our date, our title, our time, and all the details about this particular event. That's just a preview. Now this is really important. I want to point out to you, it's really tempting to just click on this edit here and edit this page, but that means the overall page, not the actual event. So you do not want to edit this. What you want to do is use your browser back button to take you back to the event listing. And you would edit it by this icon here. So this icon will take you right back to that form. You can duplicate this event, and so if you have another event that's very similar, you can duplicate this and just make those changes. You can remove this event, you can cancel the event, and you can approve the event. In the case of an approver, you would come here and you would get this window where you would change the status to approved. You put a publish date in. You can ignore this if you want. If you don't put a publish date in, then it'll publish within 2 hours because we have a 2-hour refresh time. Or an expiration date, you can either specify, or if you don't, it'll automatically come down at the end of the day of the event. Okay, so, oops, actually didn't want to publish that, but that's okay. So we'll go ahead and we'll go back into our list view. Okay, and I'm just going to go ahead and unapprove that. Okay, so now we'll see our listing view again, and let's go ahead and let's make a change to this particular event. So we'll go back into edit the event. It takes us right back into that form. Now here what I want to do is I want to make this an event that spans across several days. So I'm going to add a couple more days. So this event's going to be the 23rd, the 24th, and the 25th. Okay, I'm going to say it's an all-day event. So let's pretend this is like an outdoor rec trip. And then I'm going to group my dates together so I can see the event will be the 23rd through the 25th. And now I need to change my recurrence. So instead of it being a weekly, it's a daily. And then I need to change my, I need to change my end date to the 25th, which is the last day that I specified. Now I'm going to click on Update Event, and again, it will take me to my list view, and then I'll see how the content has changed. So it's going to show me those 3 days now. Here we see it here. Okay, it's an all-day event. It's recurring daily. If we want to preview that and see what it looks like, we'll just click on the title, and now we can see the date is May 23rd through the 25th. Again, I'm going to use my browser back button to go back and do any kind of editing.
Lemonade? Yeah.
Okay. So that's how to set up an event.
Thank you so much.
Show you is I'm going to go back to the dashboard, and I'm going to go to our sitemap, and I'm going to show you how to make sure that your facilities show up on the website. So in the case of here, we added in our Java Cafe. So I'm going to go to that page. I'm going to go visit. And I can do this from directly from the sitemap, or I can visit. So I'm going to do it this way. I'm going to edit. And I'm going to go to properties. And so don't forget, this menu item was available when I was in the sitemap as well. And in properties, this is where you're going to specify this. We saw this information we put in earlier. I'm going to click on the middle tab, Custom Attributes. You want to focus on the area on the right-hand side. And so meta title, meta description, meta keywords. And what this is this all helps the search engine. So you just want to put a title in, very descriptive, a few lines of description and some keywords. Okay, so you want to make sure you go do that. The next thing you're going to do is choose your category. So this is how we make sure it shows up on the website. And so we were adding in a Java Cafe, so we want to put it in social and dining. Okay, and so now it'll appear under that particular category. We'll go ahead and save that. Okay, so now that facility is associated with that particular category. So that is a quick look at the website. I know it was a lot of content. We went over a lot of information. But again, we do have our user guides that are available to you to guide you through anything that you may need to look at again. And also, we're always available to help you out. You have that support information. you can just email us directly, and we will get back to you with whether it's a question, a concern, or it's a feature request. We do encourage you to submit an email to support@mwr.zendesk.com. Okay, so I'm going to end there, and I appreciate your time today, and we wish you good luck in setting up your website, and don't forget we are here to assist you. Does anybody have any questions? No questions? Is anybody still there?
Yes, we are.
Okay, just want to make sure I didn't lose everybody. I haven't been talking myself this whole time, right?
Well, this is Laurel and DB. I have a
So,
question for you.
okay, go ahead.
The photos, when we add our own photos, are there specific guidelines for that? Like it can't be over a certain size, or it has to be a certain configuration?
That's a great question, and the answer to that is yes. There are certain sizes, and so we have here in one of our guides is our graphics, and this will tell you exactly how you want to set up your images so that they will format properly. Okay, so there it is right there in your user guide. Other questions?
Colleen, this is Jabeli from Fort Belvoir. When you were talking about the accordion, did you say that we did not have to end the accordion, that it would automatically do that? Or when would we use that block?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So you don't have to end it after each, say, title and content block. And in fact, you don't have to end it at all. However, if you want to have content appear underneath the accordion, then you want to end the accordion first and then add in another block of information. It's not typical that you would do that because it doesn't look as good if you have the accordions and then you have content underneath it. But I have seen it being done, so if that's the case, if you want to do that, that would be when you would want to end it.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? All right, so I appreciate your time this evening. Again, we're here to help you out, and just use that email address and we'll be available to help you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Colleen, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, thanks, Sharon.
Okay, bye.
끝났어요, 선생님?